The urge to create something is often fleeting. When fulfilled, it grants great relief and immense satisfaction, and yet, it is subject to the creator's scrutiny to the highest degree. A failed project isn't inherently bad. It simply fails to meet the expectations placed upon it. Perhaps they expected the story to go a certain way, or you wanted to achieve a particular technique on a new project. Our expectations are the primary factor we consider when we think something is good or bad. If you expected something to be of poor quality, then you might still find enjoyment of it within a comedic value. If you find the story to be poor, but have really striking shots that evoke something artistic, it can still have value. The point is, good and bad are relative terms. As art culturally shifts, time changes the way we look at things through the lens of our own perspective, whether that's culturally or personal, in order to make sense of the art we interact with. Something once good can become bad, or something once bad can become good. Despite this, the creator is still subject to not knowing if they made something worthwhile. So how do we define what makes art worthwhile? And what value should it bring to the art creator? Should they make for the sake of making and the enjoyment that can bring? Or should they strive to achieve success, monetarily or critically? That's the question all creatives must ask themselves. That's the creative's dilemma. These are all critical points that Project Songbird seeks to discuss during its runtime. Created by Fyre Games and released on March 26, 2026. It's a game at its core about creativity, and more importantly, the expectations we place on things. The game follows Dakota through her attempt to finish up an album for her music label, despite poor critical reception during her last attempt. I'll lay out the story and some of the gameplay from a perspective of a short playthrough for the purpose of analyzing our critical question. As usual, spoilers of course. If you do have the chance to play the game or you want to support the creator, be sure to give it a shot before now. Let's get into it. The game opens with a rounded 4x3 shot of an apartment with the subtitle, "I need to get back to work." It shows a mostly modern apartment, lightly decorated with just a few paintings around and some lights on the wall. There isn't much to look at until you walk into the next room and see a computer screen with an instance of Unity loaded up, looking at a game with some trees. It's clearly a shot of them working on something, but it's actually further in this game. After interacting with the computer, we get some subtitles reminiscent of old silent movies. They introduce us to Connor Rush as he walks us through getting ready for the game. We learn a bit about Connor and the project before we fully dive into the game within the game. The following scene shows us a red elevator within a mine shaft. You hear men screaming and gunshots as it slowly pans outward. Then you see a crow watching the elevator quietly before fading to black. Next, we get introduced to our main character, Dakota, as she tries to record a song for the 27th time. She's singing a song with some interesting lyrics that seem like maybe they aren't fully developed yet. The next thing we know, she's waking up on her bed after a long night's work, in a mysterious dream about a red door at the end of a hallway. She checks her phone that has a voicemail from a guy named Rob, but before we talk to him, we take the chance to look around. There's instruments everywhere, recording equipment, and paintings, so this clues us into Dakota's creative side. We also learned that, unfortunately, her most recent album, Painter's Lament, was very poorly received. She also has a line about quitting cigarettes that implies her father is no longer around, a significant detail. Her apartment is somewhat disheveled, which can clue us into her mental state. Perhaps she doesn't have time to clean when the creative spark hits, or something is cluttering her mind. Finishing up our exploration, we give Rob a call back.
Hello?
Hey, Rob.
Hey,
We learn
Dakota.
he's Dakota's manager, and he's mostly unhappy about the color of songs that Dakota's been sending in. They're starkly different from what made Dakota a famous musician. Rob requests the old sound to return, but Dakota declines, and they allude to something bad having happened.
I know what happened was awful.
Rob, don't.
Rob suggests that they send Dakota on a musical getaway to a log cabin that will give her the chance to have a complete reset and find herself. Before she even agrees, we see her traveling by car and by boat before she says,
You know what? Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
This opening has told us a lot about what is going on. Dakota is clearly moving in a different creative direction than what her fans are used to, yet feels the pressure from critics, fans, and Rob to create something they'll like again. This conflict within her is shown in her cluttered environment and in her passive-aggressive language. Let's keep these things in mind going forward. As we progress, we start getting open to the gameplay sections of the game, where Dakota will go to the old log cabin and spend about a month there working on the album as we attempt to piece together her past. The game's going to split itself into 3 major acts. These are basically 3 major emotional arcs that Dakota will run through as she comes to terms with what is haunting her. Act 1 primarily has Dakota exploring around the area and unsuccessfully trying to record a banger.
Let's check the tape player and see how it turned out. Fuck! That is not good. I don't know how I...
Things start to take a turn, however, once she comes across an easel carrying a painting that was in her apartment near the start of the game.
How the hell? This looks like...
We hear what sounds like an ancient Tibetan bell and then discover someone was in our cabin while we were away.
Did some kind of animal get in? Damn it, I must have left the door opened.
The game starts taking an extremely mysterious turn after this event, but not until the following day. Notably, we also see Dakota working on the same song she started the game on. Remember the 27 takes? When Dakota next lies down, she's awoken by a mysterious figure in the cabin with her. She's also hearing whispers around her, and a ball of light is guiding her away. After following it and reaching our destination, it shows the same red door Dakota was dreaming about. The door clearly has some kind of significance to Dakota emotionally, according to her dialogue at least. The only choice she can make is to go through it, which is when the game begins to take on a more liminal environmental style. It uses liminal environments to represent Dakota's mind. As you make your way through these liminal spaces, Dakota has no choice but to come to terms with what's in there. We leave the forest and the log cabin and find ourselves in an office building. Dakota herself says that she used to work there prior to becoming famous. Upon exploring, we see mannequins everywhere, representing the crowds or fans of Dakota. We find mysterious tree-like entities that'll stalk some of the hallways, and more importantly, we find 3 Polaroids we have to burn to progress to open the red door. Each one is important to a theme or imagery in the current story. One has an image of Dakota playing a show. One has an image of a crow. The last one has an image of someone named Finn, painting. Once we burn our 3 Polaroids, we head to open the red door, and it leads to a mysterious watery room with a phone on a desk. After picking it up, we see Finn talking on the other side. Following this scene, we get a small flashback of Dakota agreeing to go see Finn's new painting at his studio across town.
It's like an hour away. Can't you just send me a picture?
What? Dakota, I'm deeply offended.
Alright, looks like I'm driving to Finn's studio.
From their dialogue, you can tell they're very close. This is where we learn that the paintings Dakota has been seeing everywhere is one that he painted, which ominously perhaps implies that something happened to Finn. He does seem extremely concerned about the critical response to his art. Dakota thinks that he should just paint for the sake of painting. They also mention Dad, which tells us these characters are siblings. Dakota reluctantly gives him some feedback after he pressures, and the scene fades to black. After this flashback, Dakota sprints back to her log cabin to try and record something, and she manages to get 4 decent songs out. Then we get another 4x3 shot of a monologue discussing how a door is a portal to another reality. I didn't mention it the first time, but all of the 4x3 shots are going to be from the perspective of Connor Rush, the main developer of the game. It gives the game a kind of meta-analysis, but we'll get to see his perspective on the story alongside our playthrough following Dakota. Everything he says ties in closely with the creative and artistic themes already presented, and with this, it concludes Act 1. We don't know much about Dakota's story yet. All we can say for certain is that the creative pressure is a huge aspect of the story, and there seems to be some event surrounding Finn. Moving forward into Act 2, we spend most of the act conversing with our manager, Rob, over a walkie-talkie, as Dakota tries to spark the red door into appearing again. She's been stuck in a major writing block since finishing Act 1, so she'll need to find some way to get the inspiration going again. Rob suggests Dakota goes to a church, and after finding her way there, she reads a book about a granny witch.
Locals call her Granny Witch, and she sinks
A old Appalachian term referring to a woman who would use magic or herbs to heal people when doctors were limited. Historically, it's actually a real term that real women possessed. In the game, though, they're describing them as something more mythological, mysterious, ancient. She's basically an ancient witch who has lived for hundreds, if not thousands of years, who gives people hysterical visions that can heal or cause outright madness. Dakota realizes this is likely what's been afflicting her. The book even mentions that she uses dead animals as a catalyst, and you can find a dead deer in one of the caves. Her discovery of this information causes the mysterious light to appear again the following night. This time it leads her to a red door that is in a church. Upon entering, she's in a bar this time. This bar is actually one that she used to perform music at before her big breakout. This area uses piano puzzles to navigate through doors that have letters on them, correlating to the keys. Think A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Thematically, the piano puzzles represent a path forward for Dakota through music. In a way, it is saying that if you play what we ask of you, the path to success is wide open. Creation, but only on the terms of what others want. This area does have much more impact from a mysterious voice, which we know now to be the Granny Witch. During this section, after you gather 3 audio areas from Granny Witch, you can solve the final puzzle of the zone by using the TVs near the back. You have to turn on 3 correct TVs that show a painter, a guitar player, and a crowd, and it'll allow you to power the whole facility. The TVs clearly represent Dakota, Finn, and the public. This eventually, though, leads you back into finding a painting of a red door in Finn's warehouse. You can take this painting back to a stage in an earlier area to finish it up. Interestingly, the stage has a full instrumental band and an easel for Finn's painting, all in front of another mannequin crowd. Once you put the painting on the empty easel, it starts another flashback. This time, it's when Dakota went on a talk show as Neon Songbird, her stage name. The talk show host comes off as passive-aggressive and rude.
But
Ooh, that wasn't the answer we wanted, was it, folks?
You can tell it's overwhelming Dakota, and culminates with him demanding that Dakota play her newest single. During the commercial break, they get into a little bit of an argument about it, but Dakota reluctantly agrees to perform. "Sing for us, Songbird," they proclaim, over and over as the crowd starts chanting for her. This causes Dakota to have a panic attack before we hop back into the present day in the church. She once again starts sprinting for her cabin to put out some more songs. Right after, we get some more monologue from Connor. He mentions how similar he and Dakota are. They are inextricably tethered. They may die from their choices, but must continue anyway.
It might kill us both.
This concludes Act 2, which seemed to be much more musically focused than Act 1. Act 3 opens with an odd quietness. Dakota awakens back in the cabin with 4 more songs in her repertoire. Only a few more, and she's done. The original arrangement was 10 songs. Yet, she's having doubts on whether this is worth all the effort and mental strain.
Maybe this is enough. Maybe going through another doorway won't be worth it.
What are you talking about?
I'm ready to be done with
When
this.
Rob checks in with her, she expresses that it may not be worth doing.
We're so close.
Rob refuses to let her stop here, noting that she isn't doing this for her. She's doing it for them. She isn't in the woods to make songs for herself. She is here for her fans, right? The critics, of course. The label that demands something better. The expectations on Dakota are rising in this act, as she inches closer towards a finished album. While exploring for hints of the red door, Rob starts talking about things Dakota sees without voicing them. This implies that Rob may have been in her head the whole time, or more likely is a hallucination of the Granny Witch. He even mysteriously comments on her getting gas out of a truck before Dakota realizes it was weird.
Oh, I'm shocked that truck had a single drop in it.
You're telling me.
After exploring the mines, we can finally get some more information about Finn. She has a walkie-talkie call with Finn. Clearly, he's having a panic attack and demands that she come over as soon as possible.
Nothing I make is good enough, and nothing I do is ever good enough, and I'm not good enough. I can't keep doing it.
Hey, listen. Everything is gonna be okay, okay? Where are you right now?
I'm home. I just don't know what to do. I'm a disappointment to all the critics. I'm a disappointment to Dad. I'm a disappointment to everyone who wants more. I can't take it.
What can I do to help, Finn?
Can you please come over? Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I need someone, please.
It's gonna be okay. I have to finish up the song thing I'm doing, and then I have an hour drive to get there, but I will be there, okay?
Okay. Look, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
She relents to finish what she's doing and then will head over in 30 minutes. After escaping the mines, the mysterious light is there once again to lead Dakota to the truth of it all. She screams at the light, proclaiming that she is done, yet follows it nonetheless. Once she arrives at the red door again, she finds herself in their father's old house. She mentions that now it's Finn's. We have one last set of puzzles this time to unlock the final red door. We have to use the paintings in the area to open doorways to navigate around. Which, by the way, I think this painting as a doorway concept could be a game of its own, and honestly could have been a super fun puzzle game that would have been more interesting than how it was used here. After solving all the paintings and heading to the basement to watch a movie and confront the Granny Witch, we are finally able to unlock the red door. Making our way up, we open the door and find ourselves face to face with Finn. He decided to hang himself.
Just come down. It's okay now. I'm here now. Just come down.
Dakota tries to get him to come down before the screen fades to black. When we awaken, we walk back towards a cabin in a black swamp with Granny Witch describing how crows only sing for themselves. Despite the fact that their caws are considered ugly by humans, it's a song only meant for them. When she awakens in the real world in the mines, we run back to the cabin to finish our last songs. Dakota and Connor both have a dialogue about struggling with self-worth. Then we cut into a long segment following Connor that finally connects all the meta pieces of the game. Something of a short movie. Connor is struggling with motivation, seemingly crippled by his own expectations, upset that the only real way forward is to keep swimming along. After his dialogue, a short movie follows the real-life version of Connor, 1 year into developing Project Songbird. If you were paying attention, you may notice this is the same apartment from the beginning of the game. The short movie follows Connor going to meet a friend, Sydney, for coffee. It's very slow-paced and mainly follows the journey and the conversation between the two. They discuss the game, yet he seems to space out, seemingly indicating his rising anxiety. To relieve the stress, he decides to play the guitar, but can't find any release, so he goes back to coding the game. It's clearly showing how he can't feel at ease if he isn't progressing. Eventually, he goes to look at Summerland reviews, which is another game he made. He gets interrupted by his dad calling. They start catching up a little bit, but his dad guesses that he's upset and surmises he was reading reviews again.
Been looking at the reviews again?
No.
His dad poses an interesting question.
Does making games still make you happy?
Do you enjoy making games still? As he ponders this, the game cuts back to Dakota. Does she enjoy making music still? Finn asks her to come outside and sit at the campfire, where he appears in the smoke, and they can finally have the discussion that's been building all game. Although it's mostly Dakota talking to him. Dakota shows her guilt about his death. She waited 90 minutes to go help him because she was busy, but it ended up being the time for him to become overwhelmed. It's funny when something like this happens in a sense. You would have dropped anything at the time to change it if you could, but you can't possibly prepare for it. It seems silly to have guilt about a situation like this, but how can you know? She traded shitty songs for her brother's life, at least in her head. Yet Finn could never get past the opinions of others. She isn't even certain that Finn loved painting in general. A loss such as this changes someone permanently. She feels the same feelings that he felt, unable to separate her self-worth from her art. The poor critical reception is eating her alive. Then we fade to black. Connor is here once again, this time to tell us that he found a way to free himself from caring. He found clarity in the project. He admits that he isn't okay, but knows that he will be one day. As he finishes, we wrap up our story with Dakota. On the last day, day 30, we take control of Dakota, packing up all her stuff and leaving the log cabin behind. As she gets back to the boat, we fade to black, then get a final voicemail from Rob.
Just wanted to, try again to check in. I haven't really heard anything from you since you left to go to that cabin. I don't even know if you're getting these voicemails, but the songs you sent us are exactly what we needed. The early impressions are already saying it's some of your best work to date. Listen, I know that you left that letter with your demos saying that you're done making music, and I respect you want to step away, but I just think you should reconsider. I don't know what you experienced over the course of that month, but whatever it is, I'm sure we can work something out. Please, call me back when you get the chance. Yeah? Bye.
He mentions that the songs she wrote are perfect and exactly what the critics are asking for. He tries to convince her to come back to making music, but Dakota never replies. When she gets back to her room, she picks up her guitar and finishes the song that she's been working on all game. A song about Finn. A crow watches her from the window. She finally made a song for herself again. And not a song just to appease the label or to impress the fans. A song for her.
When I found you 10 toes off the ground, it was hard to fight the feeling that you wouldn't be around. Oh my.
The red door and TV set are symbols of the memory of finding Finn. ones that she's ready to leave behind now that she only makes music for herself. The game ends with her saying, "It was all because of you," referencing Finn. So, with that summary complete, let's discuss what Project Songbird is actually trying to say. The parallels between Connor and Dakota as creatives are clear. He himself voices that he feels a kinship with Dakota. In a real sense, he created her, so her troubles are similar to his own views. However, in the meta sense, he is expressing himself through the extension of her struggles in the story. Dakota's story is more a consequence of Finn's actions, I would argue. Finn, unable to separate the critical opinion of others from the joy of creating art for art's sake, was subject to self-worth issues. A painting was never good enough for him if he felt that others didn't also enjoy it. This was mostly due to him living off of their father's money. It caused great guilt to well up in Finn. If I'm unable to accomplish something, then why am I using his money? This guilt, along with feelings of inadequacy and potentially other mental health issues, led to the culmination of Finn's story, which clearly affected Dakota deeply. I think it's also interesting that Finn's painting in the game, which is shown to Dakota, is titled The Lost. It depicts a woman's body that is cracked open, showing a void inside. It looks cracked in the midsection and in the face, representing how hollow he is feeling inside. I think this painting was Finn expressing himself more than the story lets on. By the critics eventually rejecting it, it is symbolically equivalent to them rejecting him, leading to his mental break. Dakota was doing quite well as Neon Songbird for some significant time. Finn even calls her famous at one point before his passing. Once Finn passed, though, it caused a sharp change in Dakota. You can see this as she enjoys making music less and less. She even put out a poorly received album that likely was her trying to grapple with the feeling of loss, The Painter's Lament, clearly referring to Finn. An album that, much like Finn's work, got rejected quite harshly. A strong signal that this world rejects Finn. This change in sound led to her music being poorly received, to say the least. Much like Finn's own art, Dakota seems to brush off the pressure of creating, yet feels the push from fans and Rob. Something I can definitely relate to. She struggles to put out all 10 songs and was only able to make progress by Granny Witch forcing her to confront Finn's death. She's like a witchy therapist. We also have the song that she was working on creating for herself the entire game. I Found You 10 Toes Off the Ground. She wasn't able to finish it until she came to terms with his death, clearly struggling slightly less once it's out, but never fully healed. Confronting his death gave her the lyrics to finish the song. She found the words she wanted to say. So, what is the creator's dilemma? I would say it is intrinsically tied to an artist's motivation. It's the contrast between making art for authentic, fulfilling, and enriching purpose versus making art to monetize or appease others. Saying which is right or wrong is always up to the artist themselves, but it's a consistent, looming question that will follow all artists. After seeing Finn succumb to the other side of the dilemma, Dakota steels herself and concludes that she can only ever make art for herself from now on. As someone who has already seen success from her art, it's an easier question for her to make the choice to step away from that. Someone like Finn, who never saw the reception he wanted, is always going to be drowning in the desire for true, traditional success. The two siblings are quite similar, yet suffer juxtaposed journeys. I do believe there is something to be gained here for everybody, though, artist or not. Awareness of this dilemma allows introspection. In an era with so much free time, more than humans have ever had, the choice of free time does shape a lot of your life. I can find a similar dilemma in the choice of using your free time for yourself, or using your free time to make money. Ultimately, it's just another choice. There is no right or wrong answer for either question. It's always what's right for you. I think this is a realization that Connor had throughout his time working on the game. Success is always appreciated, but he needed to find the joy in creation again, not restricted by his own doubts or worries. A lesson we can all use going forward.
When I found you, 10 toes off the ground, it was hard to fight the feeling that you wouldn't be around. Oh my, never been so far from you. I stare into that portrait, I relive that scene. The red door and the TV set burned into my screen. Oh my, it was all because of you. But I have to stop myself from going down that road you did. I only have myself to please, and I'll make what I want, and I'll only make for me. I won't hold back.